There are nights when your mind becomes as still as a lake. Yet beneath that stillness, the seeds of dreams are quietly stirring. Fall asleep to a magical tale, Jayna and the Dream Berries Bedtime Story, is not just a bedtime story. It's a gentle journey that reawakens your belief in the magic within you. This is the story of Jayna, a little girl who believed that with just one tiny seed and a sincere heart, the whole world could bloom. From her small garden behind the house, she planted not only seeds, but also hope, patience, and the quiet joy of creating life. And then, something miraculous happened. The dream berries began to grow, carrying within them the power to connect people through shared dreams. Let the warmth of our storytelling voice guide you to that place where sleep and inspiration meet, where you can remember that as long as you dare to dream, magic will always find you. Because sometimes, it is in sleep itself that we learn how to awaken the soul. Part 1. Spring came late that year, yet the sun still arrived, gentle and bright enough to make people believe that every beginning has its reason. In a small house, nestled in the heart of the city, lived a little girl named Jayna, 8 years old, with small hands and a patient heart. While other children collected dolls or memorized new songs, Jayna preferred to dig her hands into the soil, to feel the damp scent of earth and the breath of rain. Adults often said that soil was just soil, but to Jayna the earth was a living body. She believed that beneath that brown layer lay a silent world, where seeds whispered to one another in the language of roots and underground water. One morning she bent down and whispered something, then looked up and smiled to herself. When her mother asked what she was doing, Jayna replied, "I just told the carrot seed that I believe it will grow." Everyone in the family loved her, though no one quite understood the little universe inside her imagination. Together, they helped her turn the patch of worn ground behind the house into a makeshift garden, a wooden frame, a few handfuls of seeds, and an old watering can. That was all. But to Jayna, it was an entire universe. On the first day of planting, the rain fell. The first drops soaked into the soil, releasing that earthy scent she loved so much. She sat by the wooden frame for hours, watching the water seep down, imagining the seeds stirring, trembling quietly beneath the earth. A week later, when the first sprout appeared, she cheered as though she had discovered treasure. But soon, her joy was tested. The carrots grew tiny and crooked like threads. The tomatoes turned hard and sour. Her mother comforted her. "It's okay. At least you made them come alive." But Jayna stayed silent. She looked at her garden, the frail green leaves, the drooping shoots, and smiled. "Next time," she whispered, "I'll talk to them more. Maybe they just need to be heard." Her mother laughed, but for Jayna it was a true promise. She believed that every living thing needed to be listened to. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." And perhaps in every handful of earth Jayna touched, there was that same instinct, pure, childlike, and deeply creative. She didn't plant to eat vegetables or to admire flowers. She only wanted to see something come alive beneath her hands. In the adult world, where everything must have a purpose, Jayna was the only one who allowed life to unfold simply for the joy of it. At night, when everyone was asleep, she would still sit by the window, watching the garden sink into darkness. The yellow glow of the street lamp brushed over the tiny leaves, trembling in the wind as if dreaming. She imagined herself saying to them, "Grow, don't rush, everything has its own time." Then she remembered a line she had once read in her father's book, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." She didn't yet understand what it meant, but she liked how it sounded, like a song of the mind. Perhaps, she thought, thinking about a seed was just like looking inside oneself. Something small, quiet, yet holding the power to grow into a forest. Day by day, Jayna continued tending her garden. Small failures didn't discourage her. They only made her more curious. She began to take notes. Sunny days, rainy days, when the soil dried, when flowers bloomed. Each page in her notebook was a small beam of light. Observations that seemed ordinary, yet carried her belief that the world could become kinder if we cared for it with attention. Sometimes neighbors passing by would see her crouch down, pulling weeds, or whispering to the earth. They smiled at one another and said, "What a dreamy little girl." But they didn't know that within those dreams was a truth adults had long forgotten. That to truly understand a flower, one must not only look at it, but bend down and listen. One afternoon, a sudden off-season rain began to fall. Jayna ran outside, opened her hands and caught the raindrops, letting them slip through her fingers and fall to the soil. She felt as if the rain too was planting, as if the entire sky was helping to nurture her small garden. In that moment, she sensed something beyond words, a delicate connection between human and nature, between dream and reality, where every seed, every drop of rain, every heartbeat spoke the same language. If anyone asked why she loved planting so much, Jayna would simply shrug, because love sometimes needs no reason other than the peace it brings. Night fell. She sat by her bed, her hands still carrying the scent of soil. She closed her eyes and imagined herself lying in a wide field, wind blowing through the carrot and tomato rows, carrying the warm smell of the sun. And in the last breath before she drifted to sleep, she heard a whisper, soft as wind, yet utterly real. "Grow, little seed of dreams." Part 2. Spring returned to England in its own quiet way. Not loud, not dazzling, but as soft as a breath just waking. Morning light filtered through the clouds and brushed gently against the dew-covered window pane. The air carried the scent of freshly cut grass, a trace of damp earth, and a faint sweetness of sunlight. One could forget everything except the feeling of spring flowing within, like a warm current of blood that slows the heartbeat. I stepped out onto the porch, listening in silence to the song of young birds. The wind was so gentle it seemed to glide across my skin, not to stir, but to soothe. Everything around me felt extraordinarily peaceful. The sky was clear, like a promise half-spoken. The ground beneath my feet was still cool, and I thought of the seeds lying somewhere beneath, patiently waiting for light. Carl Jung once wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." Perhaps that is why people still turn to nature, to hear the true rhythm of their own hearts amidst a world of too much noise. Spring is not merely the season of blossoms, but of rebirth, a silent symphony between death and life, between endings and beginnings. I took a deep breath. The chill of the breeze filled my lungs, then melted away like a small stream. I closed my eyes and imagined lying on the grass, letting sunlight crawl across my face. That feeling was nothing less than returning to myself. There were no heavy thoughts there, no need to prove anything, only breath and wind moving together in one soft rhythm. In that stillness, I remembered another line by Jung. Silence is not an absence, but a presence of something that transcends words. Truly, when humans stop speaking, they finally begin to hear the world, the sky, and the quiet voice of their own being. The sun slowly climbed higher, painting patches of light that wove between shadows of leaves. Each beam felt like the earth's own breath, and within that breath, you realize you too are breathing with the world. You are not separate. You are not alone. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The greatest privilege of life, Jung said, is to become your true self. Perhaps spring understands this better than anyone. After the barren months of winter, trees do not fear, do not regret. They simply sprout again. No one teaches them how to return to life. Existence itself is their instinct. I sat on the steps watching a young leaf drift down. It twirled a few times in the air before landing softly on the ground, as light as a sigh. And I thought, perhaps that is how humans should live, knowing how to fall, how to let go, yet never losing their grace. The wind rose again, carrying the moist scent of soil and the fragrance of early wildflowers. I smiled, realizing that the silence of nature is never cold. It has its own heartbeat, slow, steady, and full of faith. Every breath we take, if we truly listen, can blend into that eternal rhythm. By late afternoon, the light grew softer, slanting through the trees. I felt my heart grow still. All worries seemed to dissolve, leaving only a calm space, smooth and quiet like a lake. I knew night was near, the night of sleep, of dreams, of unspoken things, and I smiled, gently closing my eyes, because I understood. When a day ends in peace, it means the soul has finally returned to where it belongs, to the heart of the earth, to the season of spring, and to the tender silence within itself. Part 3. Imagine a spring morning when the sun is not yet radiant, but warm enough to make the air feel tender. On the green meadow, the wind drifts softly, carrying the scent of newly blossomed wildflowers. Everything is so quiet that if you tilt your ear slightly, you can hear even the faintest murmur of life, the whisper of growing grass, the hum of bees, the sound of petals unfolding like the earth itself is breathing. If you lie down, resting your back on the soft grass, you'll feel the ground lifting you gently, like a mother's embrace. The sunlight brushes your cheeks, warmth spreads slowly, and suddenly you realize you are not just lying in nature. You are becoming one with it. Above you, a few white clouds drift lazily across the sky like unformed thoughts. You don't need to do anything. Just breathe. Just let your breath merge with the rhythm of the world. Someone once said that when we are truly silent, we no longer hear the world from the outside. We begin to hear it from within. Carl Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And perhaps that is the quiet miracle of this moment, when light, breath, and stillness together draw a person back to their true self. You feel the wind pass over your skin, light as a caress. Your body slowly releases all tension as if dissolving into space. Everything suddenly becomes simple. No more musts or shoulds, no goals, no striving. Only a silent presence, pure, alive, and whole. I believe that every great dream begins in such small moments, when we allow ourselves simply to be, not searching for answers, not chasing meaning, like a seed beneath the soil. It doesn't need to understand why it was planted. It only needs to trust that one day the light will find it. Somewhere, perhaps beneath this very ground, a seed is gently stirring. No one hears it, no one sees it, yet you can feel it, through a quiet intuition, as if the soul itself were awakening. Maybe that's how every story in life begins, not from the noise of the world, but from the stillness between two breaths. And within that stillness, I see the image of a little girl, small in figure, her hair tousled by the wind, her hands still scented with soil. She bends down, carefully placing a seed into the earth, and with her tiny hands, she covers it with a thin layer of soft dirt. Her name is Jayna. Each morning, she goes to her garden before even the birds begin to sing. She talks to her sprouts, asking if they are tired, if they feel cold. When a new leaf opens, she smiles. When a seed doesn't sprout, she doesn't despair. She quietly waters it again and waits. To Jayna, every seed has its own soul, and her task is simply to stay beside it patiently, like a true friend, waiting for another to share their secret. Jung once said, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Creation, he believed, does not come from the intellect, but from the playful instinct of the soul. Perhaps Jayna understood this in her own way. To her, planting was a kind of play, but the most sacred kind. A game where she co-creates with nature, where she witnesses miracles spring to life beneath her small hands. On rainy days, she sits by the window, watching raindrops slide down the leaves. She imagines each drop soaking into the soil, gently comforting the sleeping seeds. She doesn't know that in watching such simple things, she is learning about life itself, about patience, faith, and the beauty of what cannot be seen with the eyes. In silence, I listen along with her. I realize there is a language that needs no words, yet speaks deeper than any dialogue. The language of attention. When we truly pay attention, the world begins to respond to us through its own heartbeat. And then, when you lie still on the grass, in spring, in wind, in soft light, you will understand that everything Jayna does, planting a seed, believing in life, is the same thing you are doing right now. Planting a dream within your own heart. That dream may be as small as a speck of dust, but if you are gentle enough, patient enough, it will begin to sprout. And one day, in this very stillness, you will see it rise, quietly, without demand, growing only under the light of your heart. Because as Jung once wrote, what you resist persists, what you accept transforms. Jayna chose to believe in the earth, and the earth blossomed, and you, if you choose to believe in your own dream, who knows, perhaps tonight, a miracle will begin to grow. Part 4. Jayna was 8 years old, at an age when other children were still enchanted by talking dolls and glowing video games in closed rooms. She spent her afternoons sitting by the window, watching the sky and dreaming about the earth. Not the earth in little balcony pots, but the real soil. Brown, moist, carrying the musky scent of rain and the whispering sound of roots finding each other in the dark. The city where Jayna lived was cramped and noisy. Towering buildings stood shoulder to shoulder, as if people were afraid to look up at the sky. Yet sometimes, in the early mornings, when dew still clung to the railings, she saw little sparrows land quietly. They chirped softly, picked up a few crumbs, and flew away. In Jayna's young eyes, that moment held a strange peace, like a promise that life still continued, even in the heart of the city. One afternoon, while walking with her mother through the grocery store, Jayna noticed a small shelf where seed packets were silently displayed. There were carrots, tomatoes, and even tiny purple flowers whose names she didn't know. All of them were wrapped in thin paper bags, but to Jayna, they were brighter than candy. She reached out and touched a packet of carrot seeds, the picture showing orange roots glowing like rays of sunlight. She didn't know why her heart beat so fast, only that she wanted to take them home. That night, when her parents asked what she wanted for her upcoming birthday, Jayna replied immediately, "I don't need a doll, I just want a little garden." Their apartment had no yard except for a narrow backspace where people usually kept trash bins and old pots. But her parents exchanged a glance and smiled. Perhaps they understood that their daughter was longing for something else, something that couldn't be bought from a toy store. The next day, her father brought home a few wooden planks and built a square frame. Her mother took a spade and helped Jayna dig through the hard layers of soil, loosening them with her tiny hands. The earth gradually softened, and its fragrance filled the air, the smell of something newly awakened. When the last patch was leveled, Jayna sat down, exhaling in quiet satisfaction. "The earth has a soul, Mom," she said. "I can hear it breathing." Her mother laughed, but there was a stillness in her smile. Adults no longer hear the voice of the soil, but hearing her daughter say that, she suddenly believed again. That evening, Jayna opened the packet of carrot seeds. They were so small, dry, and light, like specks of dust. She cupped them in her palm, gazing for a long time, and whispered, "You'll live here now. This soil will be your home." She dug tiny holes, placed each seed carefully, and covered them with a thin layer of soil. Then, with an old watering can, she let the drops fall slowly, as if she were lulling little children to sleep. The sunset slid through her hair, making the small garden glow like a dream, suspended between reality and reverie. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Creation does not come from intellect, but from the play instinct driven by an inner need. Jayna knew nothing of philosophy, yet within her lived that very instinct, a simple, pure fascination. She didn't plant for harvest, but to play with the earth, the rain, and the light. The day after planting, she rushed to the garden early, staring intently at the soil. Nothing had changed. The second, third, fourth day, still silence. At times, she grew impatient, but instead of giving up, she sat down and spoke softly to her garden. "Are you sleeping? It's okay. I'll wait for you." Then she took out a small notebook and carefully wrote, "Day 5, nothing new. The sun still shines." A butterfly came by. A week later, just as dawn broke, she saw a tiny green dot pushing through the soil. It trembled in the wind, fragile, yet radiant like a miracle. Her breath quickened as her fingers trembled to touch the first new leaf. "Hello there," she whispered. "I knew you would come." From that day on, every morning Jayna visited her garden, talking to the sprouts as if to friends. Some days, she told them about school. Other days, she hummed improvised tunes. When a leaf wilted, she gently stroked it and said, "It's all right. Maybe you just need a bit more rest." Time passed and the garden came alive. Purple flowers bloomed in the corner, and rows of carrot greens stood tall and vibrant. Her parents placed a small wooden chair so they could sit beside her in the afternoons. Watching her water the plants, sunlight draped across her face, they realized there are simple things humans forget until a child reminds them to remember. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Perhaps this little garden was where Jayna found both. When she looked at her plants, she dreamed of a green, gentle world. But when she knelt down and touched the earth, she awoke, realizing that life was always right here, resting in her palms. Summer arrived, and Jayna's garden blossomed fully. Flowers spilled over the fence, tiny bees came buzzing. The elderly neighbor wandered by, surprised by the faint fragrance. "Did this girl plant it with magic?" she asked. Jayna only smiled. She didn't know if it was magic, only that whenever she tended to her plants, her heart felt lighter. She had learned to listen, to wait, and to love without needing a reason. One night she sat beside the garden, her hands touching the soil. The moonlight turned the young leaves silver. She closed her eyes, listening to the faintest sounds, the breathing of the earth, the whisper of insects, and the rhythm of her own heartbeat blending into one. "Every seed has its dream," she murmured. "Each one carries its own story." And in that night, within the sleepless city, Jayna's little garden glowed, not with the light of lamps, but with the quiet faith of an 8-year-old girl who believed that if one loves deeply enough, everything will bloom. Part 5. In the early days of summer, Jayna's garden was filled with hope. The 8-year-old girl woke up before the sunlight, running barefoot into the backyard, her feet still damp with dew, her heart brimming with anticipation. The carrots had sprouted green leaves, the tomatoes had blossomed with golden flowers, and in her childlike imagination, she believed that in just a few days, her garden would turn into a feast of colors and scents. On the morning of her first harvest, Jayna carried a wicker basket her mother had given her. Sunlight slanted across the brick wall, making the dust in the air shimmer. She bent down, wrapped her small hands around a carrot top, and pulled with all the excitement in her heart. But what appeared was only a tiny, thin root, no bigger than her little finger. She tried the second, then the third, all the same. The tomatoes were hard and sour, making her scrunch her face in surprise. Jayna stood still. The basket in her hand felt almost weightless, holding only a few misshapen little vegetables rolling around. She didn't cry. She simply sat down on the ground, her hands covered in soil, looking at the uneven rows of plants she'd worked so hard to grow. The sky remained blue, the birds still sang, yet a quiet sadness crept into her heart. The kind of sadness that comes when a young gardener first realizes that not every seed is ready to bloom. Her mother watched from the window, worry flickering in her eyes. She feared her daughter would lose heart, but something miraculous happened. Moments later, Jayna lifted her head, and a smile bloomed again on her face. She picked up each small carrot carefully, placing them gently into her basket, as if cradling fragile children she still loved dearly. "Maybe you're still learning how to grow," she whispered softly. "It's okay. Next time, I'll be more patient." Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." At 8 years old, Jayna didn't understand that philosophy, yet instinctively she felt it, that failure was not an ending, but a part of growing. That afternoon, as the sun softened, she returned to her garden. The soil, empty after the harvest, looked lonely, but Jayna did not see emptiness. She saw possibility. She loosened each bed again, added a bit of compost, then placed her hand on the earth and whispered, as if comforting an old friend, "It's okay. We'll start over again." That night, the family shared a simple meal. Jayna brought her small carrots into the kitchen, washed them, and added them to the soup pot. The sweet aroma of carrots filled the room, blending with the scent of onions and pepper. When her father tasted it, he smiled. "Delicious, Jayna." The little girl smiled back, her eyes bright as a morning dew under sunlight. Failure, it turned out, wasn't so frightening. It simply taught her the taste of patience. After dinner, she opened her soil-stained notebook and wrote, "Failure is a seed too. It grows patience." And perhaps that was one of the truest sentences ever written. Day after day, Jayna continued tending her garden as before. She no longer wished for miracles. She simply loved what she did. Each morning, she talked to the earth. Each afternoon, she pulled weeds and patted the leaves. She no longer counted the fruits she harvested. Instead, she counted the quiet afternoons when she sat still, listening to the wind rustling through the leaves, and felt her heart grow calm. One day, the elderly neighbor came by, looked over the garden, and said, "The girl's got a green thumb. But why are her carrots still so small?" Jayna looked up, wiped her hands, and smiled. "Because they need more time, just like people. No one grows up in a single season." The old woman paused, speechless. Perhaps wisdom doesn't always come with age, but sometimes from the sincerity of a child who knows how to love every living thing. When autumn arrived, the first leaves began to turn yellow. The garden was no longer lush, yet it was full of a quiet beauty, the beauty of acceptance. Jayna gathered the fallen leaves, crushed them, and spread them across the soil. She told her father, "I want to keep the earth warm so the seeds can sleep well through the winter." Her father watched silently, remembering himself at 8, once impatient to reap rewards, never having learned to wait. Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Jayna didn't choose failure to be sad about it. She chose to love it, to learn from it, to see the hidden beauty in imperfection. And in doing so, that small girl became stronger than many adults around her, one who knew that life always needs time to find its way to bloom. One afternoon, as sunset painted the garden in gold, Jayna sat on the steps, her hand resting gently on the soil. She could still feel the warmth of the sun lingering within the soft earth, and she whispered, "Thank you, my garden. You've taught me that everything takes time." The wind brushed past, leaves rustled softly, as if in reply. That night, before sleep, Jayna opened her window and looked out at her garden resting peacefully under the moonlight. The silver glow spread across the soil, where new seeds lay still, waiting for the next season. She smiled, her heart filled with a quiet peace. In that stillness, there was something sacred. Perhaps this was the true beauty of failure, when it no longer hurts, but becomes a gentle friend, teaching us how to trust in life again. Because, as Jung once said, What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Jayna had accepted it, and in that acceptance, a new season was being planted. In the soil, in her dreams, and in the tender heart of an 8-year-old girl. Part 6. That night, Jayna's little house was filled with a gentle kind of silence, the kind that can only exist in childhood, when everything is small, pure, and brimming with the wonder of the unknown. The 8-year-old girl sat by the window, touching her tongue to the tiny space in her mouth where her baby tooth had just fallen out. After days of wobbling, it finally came loose, resting in her palm, like a secret being passed from one age to the next. Her mother told her that if she placed it under her pillow, the tooth fairy would visit in the night and leave behind a shiny coin. But Jayna didn't want a coin. What she wished for were packets of new seeds, carrots, tomatoes, daisies, anything that could grow from soil and sunlight. To her, that was real treasure. She wrapped the tooth carefully in a small piece of cloth, placed it beneath her pillow, and gently closed her eyes. Outside, the wind brushed through the garden, carrying the scent of damp grass and soil. Somewhere in the darkness, the soft murmur of insects echoed, like the earth itself breathing. Before drifting into sleep, Jayna thought, if the tooth fairy really listens, I'll ask her for one thing. Let my garden live again and give me another season to learn how to care for it. Carl Jung once wrote, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." That night, that door opened, and Jayna stepped into her own secret world. She dreamed of a vast field stretching to the horizon. The golden wheat glowed beneath the sun, its honey hue spreading across the sky. Tomatoes ripened red, plump, and alive like tiny hearts beating in the light. The air was thick with sweetness. The scent of rain-soaked soil mingled with sunlight. Jayna walked barefoot on the soft earth. With every step, dust rose gently around her feet, as if whispering to her in the language of nature. Thank you for believing. At the far end of the field, she saw her home, bathed in the light of sunset. Her mother was setting the table outside. Her father was smiling, his hands still streaked with soil. They sat together at a small wooden table, serving tomato salad and toasted bread, all of it glowing with the fragrance of summer. Jayna ran to them, her heart light as the wind. When she sat down, her mother placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, her eyes full of quiet love. No one spoke, yet they all knew. They were sharing a beautiful dream, where effort became light and patience became joy. She bit into a tomato. The taste was sweet and full. The family laughed together. In that moment, the world seemed to shrink, just enough to hold 3 people and everything they loved. Carl Jung once said, "What we plant in the soil of contemplation, we shall reap in the harvest of action." The field in Jayna's dream wasn't a reward. It was a reflection of her growth. All the failures, the wrong plantings, the tiny carrots, they had all turned into a golden season. As the sun began to fade, wind stirred through the trees, making the small flowers tremble. Above, a bird flew past, carrying a silver leaf that shimmered in the light. The leaf drifted down into Jayna's hand. On it, in letters glimmering like dew, were 2 words: "Keep dreaming." Jayna smiled. She didn't know if she was still dreaming or had already woken, only that her heart felt peaceful and full. The next morning, soft sunlight slipped through the curtains and kissed her cheek. Jayna opened her eyes and lifted her pillow. There was no coin, only a small black envelope lined with silver. She opened it and gasped. Inside wasn't money, but a single seed, round, smooth, and glowing faintly in the morning light like a tiny pearl. She held her breath, her hands trembling as she felt its quiet warmth. The fairy heard me, she thought. Jayna ran outside to the garden. The early earth was still moist. The scent of night dew lingered in the air. She dug a small hole where her old carrot patch had been, gently placed the seed in the center, and covered it with soft soil, patting it as though she were tucking it in. "Grow well, my dream seed," she whispered, her voice steady and warm, like a promise. Carl Jung once wrote, Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. But perhaps for souls as pure as Jayna's, dreaming and waking are no longer separate. To her, every dream was a continuation of reality, and every seed in the earth was a prayer for the world. That afternoon, as sunlight slanted across the fence and wind brushed through the leaves, Jayna sat in the garden, chin resting on her hands, gazing at the patch of soil where she had planted her seed. No one knew if it would grow, but in her eyes faith had already sprouted. She smiled softly as if hearing a whisper from the earth itself. Magic doesn't come from far away. It is planted by your own hands. And in that moment, in one small garden of the world, an 8-year-old girl began to understand what true magic really was. Not a gift from a fairy, but the gift born from a heart brave enough to dream. Part 7. Morning arrived with a light as gentle as breath. In the small room, Jayna woke to the scent of sunlight, the smell of warm wood, softly swaying curtains, and a faint sweetness carried by the new wind. She rubbed her eyes, feeling the cool trace left on her pillow. On the table, the little owl-shaped clock chirped softly, announcing the beginning of a new day. Then she remembered the baby tooth, the tooth fairy. Jayna sat up, her heart beating fast with excitement. She lifted her pillow with the pure, unwavering faith of a child, the kind of faith that exists only before one learns the fear of disappointment. But instead of the shiny coin her mother had promised, she saw something else. A small jet-black envelope trimmed with a thin line of silver. The morning sun glimmered upon it, making it glow like a fragment of the night sky. Jayna reached out and gently opened it, her fingers trembling. Inside, no coin, no note, only a seed. Tiny, round, and gleaming in her palm like a drop of condensed sunset. Its color was strange, part purple, part orange, and part of that warm radiance she had only seen when the sun dipped behind the rows of rooftops. In that moment, Jayna held her breath. Then she laughed, a soft, bright sound, like sunlight touching the wind. "Of course, it's the tooth fairy," she whispered. "She knows I don't need money. I only need a seed." Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Perhaps the tooth fairy understood that. She didn't give Jayna what she wanted, but what she needed, a symbol of faith, and the sacred play of the soul. Jayna held the seed in her hand and ran outside to the porch. The spring morning was singing. Birds, wind, and leaves blending into a melody of life. The soil beneath her feet was still damp with dew, soft and smooth. She chose a small corner of the garden where the carrots once grew. Kneeling down, she dug a hole just big enough for her 2 small palms and placed the seed inside. Sunlight poured over her shoulder and onto the ground, making that little patch glow as if it had been blessed. "Grow well, my seed of dreams," Jayna whispered, her voice like a conversation with the breeze. She covered it with soil, then pressed both hands gently on top. Her palms were muddy, but warm. In that instant, she felt the heartbeat of the earth, slow, deep, and alive. Carl Jung once wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." And perhaps within Jayna's soil-stained hands that hidden order was just beginning. The order of faith that needs no explanation, of a small soul brave enough to plant hope into the ground. She stood up and looked at her garden, a simple picture, yet full of life. The sun had risen higher, gilding her hair with gold. The light wind brushed through the tender leaves as if applauding her effort. From inside the house, her mother called out, "Jayna, what are you doing out there?" "I'm planting a dream, Mom." Her mother laughed, thinking her daughter was joking, never realizing that the little girl had just sown a piece of her soul. By noon, Jayna sat by the window, gazing at the small patch of soil. She imagined the seed beneath, stirring gently, turning itself toward the light. Something within her stirred too, that quiet thrill of waiting for a miracle without fear. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." But to Jayna, dreaming and waking were never separate paths. In her world, everything was one. The earth was the dream, the seed was a prayer, and every morning was a new beginning. As the afternoon faded, the sunset stretched across the garden. The sky glowed with shades of orange and violet, the very colors of the seed she had planted that morning. Jayna smiled, a serene, luminous smile, as soft as the last light of day. She opened her journal and wrote, "Maybe the tooth fairy didn't give me money because she knew. What grows from the heart is worth more than gold." That night the wind was gentle, and the moon shone milky white. Jayna looked out the window toward the garden, where the seed was sleeping under the soil. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Good night, my little seed. When you wake, tell me about the miracle you've seen." Outside, the grass swayed lightly, as if the garden itself was answering her. And in the darkness, something began to stir, not only in the earth, but in the heart of the little girl. A simple miracle, a promise that needed no proof, and a small beginning for those who dare to believe that with just one seed the entire universe can bloom. Part 8. That morning, the first light of day touched the world as softly as a breath. The entire garden was still drenched in dew, droplets so clear they sparkled like strings of scattered pearls across each blade of grass. The air was cool and damp, carrying the scent of wet soil, wildflowers, and freshly cut grass, the kind of fragrance only those who truly love life can feel with their whole heart. Jayna stepped out onto the porch, holding the black envelope with the silver trim. She had kept it with her all night, as though the tiny seed inside might vanish if she let go. The sunlight reflected off its surface, shimmering with a faint violet hue, the color of twilight blending into dawn, half dream, half reality. "Thank you, fairy," she whispered, bowing her head gently, as if speaking to someone unseen. "I promise I'll plant it, care for it, and let it grow in its own way." Without hesitation, Jayna ran to the garden. The ground beneath her feet was still soaked with dew, soft and cool like a winter blanket. She chose the smallest corner of the garden, the one that used to hold the failed carrot patch, now empty and silent. Kneeling down, her small hands touched the soil, feeling the cold slowly seep into her skin. "Hello again, Earth," she said softly, as if greeting an old friend. Using the wooden spoon her mother often cooked with, Jayna dug a small hole. The loosened soil slipped through her fingers, tender as powder. Each scoop released the scent of spring still sleeping in the ground, the fragrance of life not yet awake. When the hole was just right, Jayna opened the envelope. The seed fell out, small and glowing like a droplet of light that had strayed from the sky. In that instant, she froze. The whole world seemed to hold its breath. Only the little girl, her hands, and the seed of something yet unnamed existed. She placed it gently into the soil, as if afraid to wake a sleeping spirit. Then she covered it with soft earth and pressed her palms together. "Grow well, seed of my dreams," she whispered. Her voice melted into the air, so light that even the wind seemed to lean in to listen. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." And perhaps, within Jayna's dirt-stained hands, that hidden order was being born. The order of faith, of life, of a small soul learning how to create something miraculous. She sat there for a long while, watching the freshly covered patch of earth. In her mind, Jayna imagined the seed cracking open, releasing its first root, speaking in a language only the soil could understand. The sunlight wove through her hair, wrapping her face in gold, making her look like another seedling growing among the others. From inside the house, her mother called softly, "Jayna, what are you doing out there?" Jayna turned, smiling. "I'm planting a dream, Mom." Her mother laughed, thinking she was joking, not knowing that her little girl had just sown a piece of her own soul. By noon, Jayna sat by the window, gazing at the small patch of earth. She imagined the seed beneath, stirring, twisting, searching for the light. Something inside her stirred too, the feeling of someone waiting for a miracle, but without fear. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And perhaps, as Jayna knelt by that patch of soil, she had unconsciously begun that journey. She didn't understand what becoming herself meant, but she already knew in her heart. When you plant something with love, you are planting a piece of yourself into the world. A white butterfly fluttered past and landed on a blade of grass nearby, its wings trembling gently. Sunlight passed through them, making it look like a dream in motion. Jayna watched it, her heart swelling with a quiet joy. The kind of joy that needs no laughter, only the breath of morning and the scent of fresh earth. She sat still and wrote a few lines in her little notebook. "Today I planted a dream, not to see it grow fast, but to learn how to wait." When she finished, she looked again at the patch of soil. The light of dawn was fading, giving way to the bright sun of morning. The garden began to awaken. The buzz of bees, the rustle of leaves, the sound of the earth breathing. And in the middle of it all stood Jayna, small but radiant, as if she were part of a garden being reborn. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just planting a seed. She was lighting a flame of faith. Faith that everything, no matter how fragile or small, if loved enough, can rise toward the light. The morning went on, but in the little girl's heart, time had stopped. Peace spread through her, like sunlight sinking into the skin and warm and enduring. In the corner of the garden, the seed slept quietly. But inside Jayna, something had awakened. A dream, a beginning, and a small, steadfast belief that sometimes the greatest miracle is simply the moment we dare to believe in what we cannot yet see. Part 9. That morning, Jayna woke earlier than usual. Nothing foretold that a miracle was about to happen. Only the quiet light of dawn spilling through the window and the chirping of a small bird somewhere on the roof tiles. She rubbed her eyes, then ran to the garden, as she always did. The ground was still damp from the night's dew, and the wind carried the fresh scent of cut grass. But after only a few steps, Jayna froze. Right where she had planted her seed. The day before, something extraordinary had happened. From the earth, a bright green vine had sprung up, curling around a wooden post and spreading across the corner of the garden like a flowing stream of emerald. Its leaves were thick and smooth, shimmering as though brushed with silver. And in the middle of that canopy hung a single fruit, round, black, and gleaming. Jayna held her breath. The silver-black melon shimmered in the morning light. It looked like no fruit she had ever seen. Its skin was deep as the night sky in midsummer, yet when the breeze stirred, streaks of silver rippled softly across its surface, like moonlight that had fallen to earth. She stepped closer and reached out. The fruit was cool, smooth, and seemed to glow from within. She pulled her hand back, then touched it again, her heart racing with a strange joy. That pure, trembling joy only a child can feel. Half fear, half wonder, half disbelief. Carl Jung once wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Jayna had never heard of Jung, but if she had, she would have understood that this morning she was living in both states, dreaming and awake all at once. She sat down, gazing at the fruit as though it were a secret of the universe. The light reflected in her eyes, making them glimmer like drops of water. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Are you the Tooth Fairy's gift, or a dream I forgot to leave behind?" No answer came, only the gentle sway of the vine, as if the fruit were smiling. Carl Jung once said, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." Perhaps that door had not fully closed after last night. Perhaps in this little garden, the boundary between dream and reality had grown so thin that one blink could cross it. She thought of calling her mother, but stopped. A part of her wanted to keep this moment to herself, as though speaking it aloud might make the magic fade. Jayna walked around the vine, studying each leaf, each crack in the soil where new roots had pushed through. It was as if the garden wasn't just alive. It was breathing, whispering to her in the secret language of light. She touched the melon again, feeling a faint pulse from within. Not a heartbeat, but a soft, indescribable energy, warm and tender, that made her chest ache with peace. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Perhaps this miracle hadn't come from the tooth fairy, nor from any heavenly spell. It had come from Jayna herself, from her faith, her patience, and the pure delight of planting a dream without demanding anything in return. In the sunlight, the fruit glowed brighter. The light ran along the vine, casting silver across her face. Jayna smiled. She thought that perhaps this was the earth's way of rewarding those who know how to listen. A butterfly fluttered by and landed on the melon. With one gentle beat of its wings, the silver light flared, radiant, breathing, alive like the sigh of the universe. Jayna froze, not from fear but from awe. For the first time, she felt truly close to something sacred, not magic, but life itself awakening. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." Jayna had not resisted, had not doubted. She had simply received. And because of that, the ordinary had turned to extraordinary. She sat there a long time, letting the sun fall across her hair, letting the scent of earth wrap around her. Now she didn't just see a silver-black melon. She saw the whole garden shifting, vines reaching upward, blades of grass trembling, and beneath it all, an invisible current connecting everything: the soil, the sunlight, the seed, and the small, steadfast heart of an 8-year-old girl. Jayna stood up, placed both hands over her chest, and whispered, "Thank you, my little seed. I believed, and now I see." The wind passed gently through. The leaves rustled, scattering light across the ground like silver script written by the sun. Words only the heart could read. And as the little girl turned to leave, the fruit swayed softly in the breeze, shining with that quiet light, like a cosmic stone fallen to earth, silent, beautiful, and eternal. Part 10. That afternoon, the sky was crystal clear, and sunlight fell over the garden like strands of golden silk. Jayna sat on the doorstep, her arms around her knees, quietly watching the strange vine that had now covered the corner of the garden. From it, the silver-black melon still swayed gently in the wind, radiating a light as soft as breath. Several days had passed since it appeared, yet Jayna had not dared to pick it. There was something in its glow that made her hesitate, as if within that fruit lay a secret too vast for human hands to touch. But today, as the sun began to tilt westward and the wind passed through, the melon trembled, emitting a fragile sound like a crystal bell. Jayna knew. The moment had come. She stood up quietly and walked closer. The leaves brushed against her fingers. The vine was cool to the touch, and the melon, strangely, felt almost weightless, as though hollow inside. "Is it really a melon?" she whispered, gently twisting it free. At that moment, the silver light reflected in her eyes, making them deep and luminous, like the sky at dusk. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." And indeed, in that instant, Jayna did not pick the melon as one picks a fruit, but as a child touches the miracle her own heart has created. She ran into the house, calling out, "Mom, Dad, come and see." Her mother was slicing bread, her father drying his hands at the sink. They both turned around, and the light from the melon shimmered across their faces, casting a strange, silvery glow. "Goodness, Jayna, what did you find?" her mother asked in astonishment. "It's from the seed I planted," she said, eyes sparkling. The whole family gathered around the table. The small kitchen was filled with the warm scent of cinnamon and toasted bread. Jayna placed the melon in the center, a small object, yet it seemed to hold within it something greater than the garden outside. "Shall I cut it open?" her mother asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and caution. Jayna nodded, hands clenched, heart racing. The knife slid through the soft black skin. There was no sharp crack, only a gentle sound like wind touching water. And then, as the rind parted, light flooded the room. Inside there was no solid flesh, only countless tiny fruits, glowing like pearls, molded from the colors of the sky. There was the deep violet of twilight, the warm orange of the setting sun, and the clear blue of the distant sea. They mingled, reflected one another, as if the heavens themselves had folded into this single fruit. Her mother set down the knife, whispering, "It's beautiful." Jayna could only stare, her lips parted in wonder. A sweet, delicate fragrance filled the air, part fruit, part earth, and part sunlight. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Looking at the glowing orbs inside, Jayna understood. Perhaps this seed had simply lived in its own way. Not like any other, not bound by rules, becoming precisely the light it was meant to bring into the world. Her mother cut a small piece and placed it in her hand. Jayna hesitated, then tasted it. The flavor melted instantly. Sweet but not heavy, cool yet deep, like honey blending with wind. It felt as though she were tasting a piece of the sky. Both real and dreamlike, calming yet thrilling, like waves in her chest. Her father tasted it too, then laughed softly. "Strange. It's sweet but somehow warm." Her mother looked at Jayna with gentle eyes. Maybe this is a gift for those who know how to trust and wait. Carl Jung once wrote, "What we plant in the soil of contemplation we shall reap in the harvest of action." That evening, Jayna's family was reaping a special kind of harvest. One of faith, of love, and of a dream planted by a child's small hands. The kitchen shimmered with light. No one could tell where the lamp ended and the fruit began. Everything, the spoons, the curtains, even the strokes of paint on the walls, glowed in hues of sunset, as if the sky itself were pouring into the room. Jayna sat still, feeling as though she were living inside her own tooth fairy dream. A fragment of that dream now rested in her hands, something she could taste, touch, and feel spreading like light within her heart. She turned to her parents and said softly, "I think this is a fruit of dreams. It was born from faith, and it bloomed for all of us." They smiled. No one needed to say another word. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." In that small kitchen, the meeting was not only between people, but between humanity and the sacredness of life itself. A reaction had occurred, not through science, but through feeling, and all three of them were changed. As the sun finally set, the light inside the melon softened, fading like the last ember of the day. Yet Jayna knew the magic would not disappear. It had simply moved from the glow outside into their hearts, becoming a new warmth, a new faith. That night, before going to sleep, she wrote in her small notebook, "I thought it was just a fruit, but now I know. It was a gift from the earth, teaching us how to share light." Outside, the garden lay still, the wind brushing gently through the vines. Moonlight fell upon the spot where she had planted the seed, spreading a faint silver sheen, like a silent reply. A circle had closed. The seed had become fruit, the dream had become light, and that light had found its home within the heart of a little girl who knew how to love, to trust, and to wait. Part 11. Jayna lifted the small piece of fruit to her lips. The moment her teeth gently broke through the smooth skin, a tender sweetness spread across her tongue. Unhurried, unaggressive. It was a sweetness like sunlight dissolving into the afternoon, warm all the way to her fingertips. It wasn't the sugary taste of candy, but the sweetness of soil, of rain, of something nurtured by time and faith. She closed her eyes. Behind her eyelids, that sweetness became light. The sensation was strange. as if she were touching sunlight and swallowing a dream at once. Her mother spoke softly, her voice lighter than breath. "You've grown something truly magical, Jayna." Her father smiled and brushed a hand over her hair. "Maybe it's because you cared for it with your whole heart." The kitchen fell into a beautiful silence. The yellow lamplight spread across the wall, settling into soft patches like butter. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, carrying the damp scent of the coming night. Jayna took another bite. The flavor had changed. It wasn't just the fruit anymore. It was the taste of joy, of sharing. Strange, she thought. Each bite carries a different memory. The first was sunlight. The second was earth. And now, it felt like someone was holding her hand. She looked up and saw her parents smiling at each other. There was something peaceful in their eyes. Maybe in that very moment, the three of them were thinking the same thing, that sometimes the most beautiful things don't need to be named. Carl Jung once said, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." And perhaps, in this quiet moment, that door had softly opened, not through magic, but through the tenderness of a simple meal. After dinner, her mother tidied up while her father turned on the old radio. Lazy jazz music drifted through the room. Jayna sat by the window, watching the garden sink slowly into darkness. The crescent moon rose, its light reflecting on the vines, making them shimmer as if wrapped in silver. She imagined the melon from her dream, then smiled. She didn't know why, but she had a clear feeling. Tonight would be special. When she climbed into bed, the room was awash in moonlight. She pulled up her blanket, feeling the lingering warmth from dinner, and sighed softly. The scent of the fruit still lingered on her lips, as if part of that dream fruit refused to fade. "Good night," she whispered, not sure to whom. Perhaps to her parents in the next room, or to the garden sleeping outside. Sleep came gently, like mist, and then something strange happened. In her dream, she saw her kitchen again, but wider, brighter, bathed in golden sunset light. Everything shimmered, as though woven from threads of radiance. Her parents sat at the table, smiling softly, and on the table lay the glowing dream fruits from before. Jayna held one in her hand. It shone, then dissolved, leaving behind a gentle fragrance. From that fragrance rose thousands of tiny lights, swirling together into a galaxy that drifted above their heads. "Do you see, sweetheart?" Her mother's voice floated like wind. "When you plant with faith, you're not just growing a tree. You're growing a dream." Jayna nodded, a feeling of deep familiarity rising in her chest, as if she had heard those words long ago. Her father stood, extending a hand. "Come, Jayna. The dream is waiting outside." And together they stepped out. The kitchen door opened, not to the garden, but to a weightless sky. The light from the dream fruits fell like a staircase of stars leading upward. Jayna followed her parents, her feet barely touching the steps, as if her body had turned to air. The three of them rose into a sky painted with violet, orange, and blue. The same colors of the melon in waking life, now stretched across the heavens. They laughed, spinning in that radiant space, as though reborn into a world without fear. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." But that night, Jayna both dreamed and awakened. The dream was not something apart from life. It was an extension of it, a place where love could be seen as light. When the moon reached its highest point, the three of them descended, standing in a garden flooded with silver light. The vines twined upward, and from their leaves, hundreds of new dream fruits had bloomed, each one glowing like a tiny lantern. Jayna touched one, and it flared brighter, as if answering her. She laughed. In that glow, her smile looked like a small sun, rising within the night. Then gently, the vision began to fade. The light receded like a tide, leaving only warmth in her hands. The next morning when she woke, she could still taste the melon sweetness on her lips. She ran to the kitchen and found her parents already there. They looked at one another and was silent for a moment, and then all three began to laugh. "I dreamed," Jayna began. "That we were flying, weren't we?" her mother finished. "Under a sky of orange, blue, and violet," her father added. They fell quiet again. In their eyes, something unspoken had been confirmed, something beyond words. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." That reaction had happened last night, not only between three people, but between them and the universe itself. When Jayna looked out the window, the garden was silent. The green vines swayed gently, but inside her, something had changed. Lighter, deeper, fuller than ever before. Some dreams do not come to make us forget life, but to remind us to love it more. And last night, Jayna had stepped through that door, not to escape into dreaming, but to return to reality, carrying with her the light that had awakened within. Part 12. That night, the little house of Jayna's family was wrapped in a gentle stillness, the kind that feels like the soft blanket of spring. Outside, the wind whispered through the grass, carrying the scent of tender leaves and the murmurs of trees. The full moon hung above the roof, spilling silver light over the window frame, where the white curtains swayed softly, like the breath of a dream just beginning. Inside the small room, Jayna was fast asleep. She lay curled beneath her quilt, tiny hands resting on her chest, her face peaceful, as if listening to the rhythm of her own heart. In the next room, her parents slept too. None of them knew that in the same moment, all three seemingly separate souls, were stepping into the same dream. The scent of blueberry waffles, Jayna's favorite, filled the air. The fragrance didn't come from the kitchen, but from within the dream itself, drifting through every corner of the house, like a tender invitation guiding the three of them through the invisible doorway between reality and imagination. Jayna opened her eyes. Around her was a sky smooth as silk. No ceiling, no walls, only light. Blue, violet, and pale pink, woven together like fragments of sunset stitched by an angel's hand. Beneath her feet floated a carpet of clouds, so soft that each step left a print behind. In the distance, the moon shimmered, round and golden, like a giant waffle glazed with honey and blueberries. Jayna giggled. When she turned, she saw her parents standing nearby, equally amazed. Her mother wore her silk nightgown, her hair falling loose, moonlight draped over her, shoulder like a silver ribbon. Her father still wore his old sweater, his posture half drowsy, but on his lips was the warmest smile Jayna had ever seen. "Where are we?" her mother asked, her voice dissolving into the wind. "In my dream, or maybe in ours," Jayna replied. They looked at each other and smiled. Then, as if hearing a distant call, they began to rise. No wings, no effort, just a thought, and their bodies floated upward like petals. Together they drifted through the sky, where rivers of starlight flowed like liquid silver. Carl Jung once wrote, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." And that night, the door had opened, not for one, but for all three. Souls bound by love, now crossing together into the realm of wonder. Far ahead, the moon shone brightly. A silver path stretched from where they hovered, winding through the galaxy straight toward it. Her mother smiled, eyes glinting with rare mischief. "Whoever reaches the moon first gets the first bite of the waffle." Jayna burst into laughter and flew ahead. Her father chased after her, and her mother followed close behind. The three of them soared toward the moon, through a sea of purple and blue stars. Their laughter echoed, ringing through the cosmos like a melody of joy. There was no time, no gravity, only the sensation of absolute freedom, where all limits vanished, and the human soul returned to its purest form. When they finally reached the moon, it wasn't rock or dust that met their feet, but a vast field of light. The moon was warm, soft like a palm, perfumed with honey and blueberries. They lay down together, hand in hand, gazing up at the distant blue earth suspended in space. "If this is a dream," her father said, his voice carried away by the wind, "then I hope it never ends." Her mother smiled and turned to Jayna. "Maybe dreams don't end," she said. "They just change shape when we wake up." Jayna said nothing. She only looked up at the stars, feeling as though she could hear the heartbeat of the universe itself. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." But that night, they both dreamed and awakened. For this dream was not an escape, but a return to the deepest part of themselves, where love knows no borders, and imagination is its own sacred language. All three closed their eyes, and suddenly they heard music. The soft tune of the old radio in their kitchen. The scent of blueberries grew stronger, filling the sky before dissolving into light. When morning came, Jayna opened her eyes to the first golden ray spilling across her blanket. She heard her father's laughter, her mother setting plates on the table. In the air lingered the scent of blueberry waffles. Real, more real than ever. She ran to the kitchen. The three of them looked at each other. A brief silence fell. Then her mother asked, "What did you dream of last night, Jayna?" Jayna hesitated, then whispered, "I dreamed. We flew to the moon." Her father set down his teacup, eyes bright. "Strange," he said. "I dreamed the same thing." Her mother smiled and nodded. "And there was the smell of blueberries, wasn't there?" The room went quiet. None of them spoke further, because what they shared was not coincidence. It was a shared dream. A dream of connection, of kinship, of something that transcends logic. Carl Jung once wrote, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." Jayna looked at her parents and smiled softly. Perhaps dreams like these aren't mere playthings of the mind, but reminders from the soul, telling us that those truly connected will always find each other, whether in sleep or beneath the endless sky. She bit into her waffle. The sweetness melted, light as the moonlight from the night before. Outside, the sun lit the vines in the garden, where dewdrops sparkled like tiny stars. And in that moment, Jayna knew the dream hadn't ended. It was still unfolding in another form, quieter, gentler, like the scent of blueberries drifting through the wind, the warmth of her mother's hand, and the smile still lingering at the corner of her father's lips. Part 13. That morning, sunlight lay across the window like a thin silk ribbon. The scent of blueberry waffles still lingered in the air, mingling with the aroma of tea and the gentle warmth of the kitchen. Jayna sat at the table, her eyes gazing out toward the garden. Light reflected on the glass, forming a faint halo around her soft brown hair. On the table, the plate still bore faint purple streaks, traces of breakfast, and perhaps the last visible remnant of last night's dream. But for Jayna, the dream hadn't faded like the scent of waffles. It remained vivid, radiant, as if she could reach out and touch the moonlit world tinted with blueberry blue once more. She turned the spoon in her hand, then lifted her head and said firmly, "I know why we all dreamed the same dream." Her father set down his coffee cup and smiled gently. "Oh, and why is that, my little one?" "Because of the dream berries," Jayna said, her eyes sparkling. "They really have magic." Her mother laughed, her voice light and clear like a glass bell. "You're imagining things again, sweetheart. It was probably just a coincidence." But Jayna shook her head, her expression so serious that her parents fell silent. "No, I know it. The magic isn't just something you see, it's something you feel." Her father smiled faintly. There was something in her words that stirred an old memory of himself as a child, believing the world ran on mysteries and beauty. He thought of saying something, but stayed quiet instead. Carl Jung once wrote, "The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it." Perhaps, he thought, for Jayna, the magic didn't need to be right or wrong. It only needed to mean something. Her mother sat down beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You can believe in anything," as long as it makes you smile. Sometimes grown-ups like us forget that. Jayna looked up and met her mother's eyes. Eyes soft and a little sad, like someone who once lost faith in the invisible. She smiled, her face bright as the morning itself. "I think magic doesn't disappear, Mom. It just waits for people to believe in it again." The words hung in the air. For a moment, the whole kitchen went still. Sunlight spilled across the table, bathing their faces in a warm glow. Her father inhaled the aroma of his coffee and said quietly, "Maybe you're right. Whether it's coincidence or magic, it doesn't really matter, does it?" Jayna nodded. "What matters is that we're happy." Carl Jung once said, "Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see." And Jayna, with the eyes of an 8-year-old, had seen what adults often forget, that sometimes coincidences aren't random at all, but the universe's quiet way of speaking to us when we choose to believe. Breakfast ended. Her parents returned to their daily routines while Jayna stayed behind, resting her chin on her hands as she watched the garden. The small yard glowed in sunlight. The young green vines swayed gently, as if smiling back at her. There, in the soil where she had once planted her seed, tiny memories were still silently sprouting. She reached for her notebook, opened to a blank page, and wrote in her neat, slanted handwriting. Sometimes miracles don't come to be explained. They come to be thanked for. Then, in smaller letters, she added another line, almost like a whisper. "Magic doesn't need proof. Only a heart that knows how to share." Outside the window, a breeze passed through, stirring the curtain. Light shimmered across the page, making the words seem to glow. Jayna looked at them and smiled, the kind of smile that belongs to someone who has discovered a secret too beautiful to keep to herself. She closed the notebook and ran outside. The ground was still damp from last night's rain. Beneath the leaves, droplets of dew sparkled like tiny jewels. Jayna knelt down, pressed her hand to the soil, and felt the warmth of life pulsing, soft and rhythmic, like breath. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Jayna didn't know that philosophy, but she understood it in her own way. That seeds, dreams, and love are born from the same source, the joy of sharing. She sat down, closed her eyes, and whispered to the earth, "Thank you for letting us dream and laugh together." A gentle breeze swept through, rustling the leaves. The sound was soft, like an answer. In that instant, Jayna felt everything, the earth, the sky, the trees, alive, listening, smiling with her. The morning moved on, quietly yet full of life. Her parents continued working inside, unaware that their little girl was outside, sitting in the middle of the garden, speaking with the light itself. To a passerby, she might have looked like just a child sitting alone, lips moving softly. But look closer, and you would see in her every gesture a rare kind of faith, the pure trust in life that most adults spend a lifetime trying to rediscover. And somewhere beneath the soil, where the dream berries once grew, perhaps new seeds were beginning to sprout. Not of plants, but of something far more invisible. The belief that magic lives on in every heart that knows how to love. Part 14. The next morning, when dew still clung to the tips of the grass, Jayna stepped into the backyard garden. The crisp morning air seeped through her thin wool sweater, making her shiver slightly. Yet inside she felt a quiet excitement, as if she were about to meet an old friend again. The garden was silent, only the soft rustle of wind weaving through the trees and the faint chirping of young birds practicing their songs on the rooftop. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the dew, forming a hazy halo, like the dreamy glass of memory itself. Jayna walked toward the corner of the garden where the vine had grown. She blinked a few times, thinking her eyes were playing tricks on her. The plant was still there, lush, green, full of life, but the silver glowing fruits were gone. They were gone. No more of that soft, breath-like light. No more of that faint sweetness that lingered each time the wind passed. Only the bare vine remained, its thin leaves trembling slightly in the sun. For a moment, a quiet sadness passed through Jayna's heart. But it wasn't the sadness of loss. It felt more like when a song ends and the melody still lingers in your mind. She sat down, her hand brushing the stem. The soil beneath her was still warm. Beneath that layer of earth, she knew tiny roots were still alive, breathing, reaching for the light. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice softer than the sound of leaves touching. "Thank you for coming, even if only for a little while." Carl Jung once wrote, "The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it." And Jayna understood. Some miracles need only appear once to forever change the way we see the world. She looked around, then smiled. There was nothing to mourn. Magic isn't meant to be kept. It's meant to be remembered. She ran back inside, brought out her box of colored pencils and a blank sheet of paper. The breakfast table still carried the scent of bread and cinnamon. Her father was reading the newspaper, her mother washing dishes. Jayna pulled out a chair and sat down, pouring her little heart into the paper. On the blank canvas, she began to draw. First, the night sky, the same one her family had flown through in their dream. Violet, blue, and a hint of orange, swirling like streams of the Milky Way. Then 3 small figures, father, mother, and herself, soaring among the stars. Beneath them, the blue sphere of Earth. Farther away, a full moon, glowing like the dream berry that had once grown in their garden. She outlined the stars in silver, then added tiny specks of light, not bright, but softly shimmering, like the breath of memory. When the drawing was finished, Jayna stared at it for a long time. It was simple, childlike, imperfect. Yet to her, it was a treasure. The only thing capable of holding the feeling of a miracle that had already passed. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And perhaps as Jayna drew that dream, she was both dreaming and awake. She was looking into her own heart, and there, the light of the dream berries had never gone out. She took a flower-shaped magnet and pinned the drawing to the refrigerator, the same place her mother kept receipts, menus, and sticky notes. The picture stood in the center, bright among the white and yellow scraps of paper. Her father passed by, paused, and bent down to look. He read the small line Jayna had written underneath, "For the night we all dream together." He smiled and gently brushed her hair. "You know, Jayna, there are things we can't hold with our hands, but we can keep them with our hearts." Her mother looked over from the kitchen, eyes soft. "And with our memory," she added, "because what's truly beautiful will always live in the way we remember it." Jayna nodded. She said nothing, only gazed at her drawing, her heart glowing as warm as the morning sun. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct, acting from inner necessity." Perhaps that simple, childlike drawing was Jayna's way of creating a new form of magic. The magic was no longer out there in the glowing fruit. It now lived on the thin paper, in her heart, in the way she turned memory into something beautiful to share. That afternoon, sunlight slanted across the kitchen wall. The drawing reflected a faint, mysterious shimmer, as if the stars within it were truly shining. Her parents stopped what they were doing and looked at it. They didn't speak, but both felt the same thing, that something in their home had changed. A quiet warmth, unnamed yet growing, like a seed planted deep within the soil of their hearts. Outside, the garden had fallen silent again. The vine still swayed softly under the sunlight, green and slender. No more fruit hung from its stem, yet in the breeze, there was still the faint sweetness of memory. Jayna stood by the window, looking out, and smiled, gently. The magic had passed, but its light remained. In the drawing on the fridge, in the dream of that faraway night, and in the heart of a little girl who was grateful for having once believed in miracles. For as Jung once wrote, The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. And that drawing, together with the memory of the dream berries, was precisely that. Something small, yet full of meaning. Part 15. That night, as darkness fell, Jayna's little room was bathed in a soft, milky light. Outside the window, the sky shimmered with stars, a faint Milky Way dissolving into mist. The wind slipped gently through the window frame, brushing the drawings pinned to the wall so that they quivered like the breath of a dream. On the desk, her small globe-shaped lamp glowed softly, surrounding her with the tender quiet of the late hours. Jayna lay on her side, the secret garden open in her hands. She read slowly, as if afraid to disturb the rhythm of the story's breath. It was a tale about a hidden garden, where life returned from ruin, where loneliness was healed by the touch of growing things. She loved it not only for its beauty, but because it made her believe that even when everything is lost, life always finds a way to return. The light on her desk flickered slightly. Jayna looked up, tilting her head. The golden glow deepened to a warm amber, then suddenly brightened until it felt as if a small sun were rising inside her room. She blinked. Everything around her began to dissolve. The walls faded, the desk, the book, even the bed seemed to melt into the growing light. Jayna felt her body lighten, weightless, effortless. And then, quite naturally, she began to float. There was no ceiling, no floor, no space to confine her. Only an endless expanse of light opening outward. She hovered within it, a strange calm filling her, not fear, but wonder. She could almost hear her own heartbeat echoing through the glow. Around her, the light swirled into spirals, forming planets turning slowly in the vastness. Mars burned red like a brush of lipstick. Saturn's rings gleamed silver. Galaxies coiled like ribbons, dancing in silence. Jayna drifted through the cosmos, filled not with fear, but with a wild, joyful curiosity. She saw figures moving in the distance. As she drew nearer, she realized it was her parents. They weren't standing on the ground, but dancing among the planets. Her father spun, tossing toward her a glowing ring like Saturn's silver halo. Her mother caught it, then flung it back as a burst of starlight like fireworks. Both were laughing, their smiles as light as moonbeams. "You're here, Jayna." Her mother's voice floated toward her, soft as music carried by wind. "I am," Jayna replied, her voice scattering into shining particles as it drifted away. She stretched out her arms, and in that instant, the three of them clasped hands. There was no gravity, no distance, only a deep, silent connection, as though their hearts were beating to the same rhythm. They spun together among the stars. Light poured down on them, breaking into 1,000 fragments. Every movement sent sparks flying, painting radiant trails through space. They laughed, tossing rings of stars, catching them with laughter that rang like crystal. Everything felt weightless, as if the world had never known sorrow, only light, motion, and love. Jayna looked around. Each planet glowed from within, bright but never blinding. She remembered what her father had once said. "You know, light never truly disappears. It only changes its form." Perhaps the little lamp on her desk, now transformed into a tiny sun, was proof of that. Its light touched every face. When Jayna looked at her mother, she saw it reflected in her eyes. A light both gentle and strong, the same one that had once held her close through stormy nights, singing her to sleep. The light on her father's face was different, warm, steady, like a small fire in winter. The two lights merged, and together they reflected upon Jayna's face. She couldn't speak. She only smiled, feeling herself becoming part of the sky. They kept spinning among the stars, then drifted toward a vast sphere of light, the sun itself, but not scorching, soft, like a beating heart. Jayna could hear it pulse with a deep, steady hum, the breath of the universe. Her mother looked at her and whispered, "Do you see, my love? This is where light begins." Jayna nodded. Everything in this dream made sense in a wordless way. Needing no explanation, only feeling. Carl Jung once said, The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And in that moment, Jayna understood. This dream, not the garden, not the magic, but the awakening within, was making her become herself, a soul that feels, dreams, and loves through light. She held her parents' hands tighter. They spun together once more, and as they did, everything began to dissolve. The light, the planets, the rings, even their forms, all merging into one, as gentle as dawn melting into morning. Then Jayna opened her eyes. The room was quiet again. The night lamp still glowed, its warm golden light as soft as honey. The secret garden lay open beside her pillow. She blinked and smiled. There was no sense of loss, only a deep, peaceful stillness, as if the dream were still breathing through the light. Outside the window, a shooting star crossed the sky, leaving behind a ribbon of silver. Jayna watched it, whispering softly art just for herself. "Thank you, dream of light." Then she closed her eyes again. The glow from the little lamp washed over her hair, her face, her hands, gentle as a promise that dreams don't need magic to exist, only a heart that believes in its own light. Part 16. That morning, the sky was clearer than ever. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a gentle honey hue over Jayna's breakfast table. She had woken earlier than usual, her brown hair still tousled from sleep, her eyes sparkling with a quiet excitement. In front of her sat a small basket lined with golden straw, holding a few dream berries that remained from the magic of the night before. The little fruits glistened like drops of morning dew, plump, radiant, and shimmering with soft light. Their colors shifted with the sun, deep violet, sweet orange, ocean blue. Every time Jayna looked at them, it felt as though she was gazing into a piece of the sky that someone had folded perfectly into a tiny round shape. She planned to bring them to school that day, not to boast, not to prove anything, but simply because her heart held a quiet urge, the joy of sharing something miraculous. Carl Jung once wrote, "The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it." For Jayna, that little basket was exactly that, a small thing full of meaning. The path to school was bathed in sunlight. The scent of freshly baked bread from the nearby bakery mingled with the fragrance of wet grass, making the morning feel both familiar and brand new. Jayna walked slowly, her basket swaying with each step, and her heart seemed to sway along with it. When she arrived, her classmates were already gathered around the desks, laughter echoing through the room. Jayna set the basket down and opened the lid. A soft glow spread outward, catching everyone's attention. "What did you bring?" Emma asked, leaning closer. "Fruits I grew myself," Jayna answered gently, her eyes glowing with innocent pride. "I call them dream berries." The children gasped. "Dream berries? Like fruit from a dream?" "Maybe," Jayna smiled. "Maybe they are." She picked one and handed it to Emma. "Try it." Emma took a small bite, and her eyes widened. "Oh my gosh, it's so sweet, but not like sugar. It tastes like sunlight." The others eagerly followed. Some giggled, some whispered in wonder. Even Lucas, the most rational boy in class, had to admit, "Strange. I feel like I can hear music when I eat it." The room filled with cheerful chatter. Jayna sat quietly, chin resting on her hands, watching their glowing faces. She didn't need to say anything. Her joy wasn't loud. It was the deep happiness of seeing others touched by the same miracle she once felt. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Perhaps that reaction had already happened the moment the first child bit into a dream berry. Doubt turned into curiosity, curiosity into wonder, and wonder into faith. By the time class ended, sunlight slanted through the window. The children ran outside, laughing and talking about the sweetness of the mysterious fruit. In their eyes glimmered a new kind of light, the kind only those who have dreamed can recognize in one another. Jayna stayed behind, Looking at the now empty basket, her heart felt strangely light. It was as if she had just planted seeds in an invisible garden, one that lived inside the hearts of others. That night, when the full moon rose high and silver light flooded through her window, the whole town seemed to fall into a sacred stillness. Jayna climbed into bed, pulled the blanket close, and closed her eyes. Then the dream began. She stood in the middle of a vast field, and she wasn't alone. Around her were Emma, Lucas, and all her classmates. They laughed, running barefoot through glowing grass, the air sweet with the scent of fruit. "Jayna," Emma called, "look." Above them, planets floated in the sky, each one radiant like a giant dream berry. The stars fell in soft streams of light, wrapping around the children. They laughed and ran and jumped, free among endless colors, as if the dream itself had no boundaries. No one asked why they were there together. No one was surprised. They simply received it, as though deep down they had always known this would happen. Carl Jung once wrote, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." And that night, the door opened, not just for Jayna, but for every young heart that dared to believe in something beautiful. They sat together beneath the slow-turning stars, their reflections glowing in each other's eyes. Jayna smiled softly. She realized that true magic didn't live in the berries themselves, but in the moment people connected through shared belief, even if only in a dream. The next morning, as the birds called the dawn, everyone awoke, remembering the same dream, every detail clear. Emma said she could hear the wind singing. Lucas said he felt himself flying. Jayna just smiled because she understood. What they experienced was more than a dream. It was the trace of something sacred, a reminder that miracles come when hearts open to one another. In the morning light, Jayna looked out at her garden. The vine was still there, silent, no longer bearing fruit. But that didn't matter anymore. The dream berries had found a new place to grow, not on branches but in hearts. She smiled. Perhaps that was the nature of all miracles. They never belong to the one who holds them, but to those who are touched and changed by them. Jayna went back inside, placed the empty basket on the table, and felt a quiet peace settle within her. Outside, the sky was so blue it seemed someone had just washed it clean with light. And somewhere in that silence, Jung's voice seemed to whisper, "Who looks outside? Dreams. Who looks inside? Awakes." And that morning, Jayna knew. Sometimes it is when we dream together that we are truly awake. Part 17. That afternoon, the sky was as still as a thin veil draped over the little garden. The last light of day fell across the porch, painting everything in a soft shade of pale gold, gentle, yet tinged with a quiet sadness. Jayna stood in the kitchen doorway, her hands still carrying the scent of soil, gazing toward the backyard, the place where so many miracles had once unfolded. She slipped on her small boots and stepped out slowly. Beneath her feet, the grass was soft and damp, still beaded with drops from the morning watering. The earthy smell of soil, roots, and green leaves mingled together, as if every breath carried a memory of spring. Jayna bowed her head, brushed her hair aside, and knelt beside the base of the vine, the same one that had once borne the first dream berries. The plant was still there, lush, tender, twining around the old wooden fence like a silent melody. But there were no more fruits, no shimmering pearls of dreams, no silver light dancing beneath the morning sun. Jayna sat quietly for a long while. Her eyes narrowed, not out of sadness, but as if trying to see more clearly, to listen to something, speaking in a language without words. And then she smiled. It wasn't a forced smile, nor a smile of regret. It was the smile of understanding. She laid her hand on the stem, tracing the fine cracks that ran along it like lines on a human palm. The coolness of the soil seeped into her skin, and her heart softened with it. "It's all right," she whispered. "I understand now." Carl Jung once said, "The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it." Perhaps in that very moment, Jayna finally understood what meaning truly was. Magic was not in the glowing fruits, but in the quiet joy of seeing someone smile because of something you shared. She remembered Emma's face, wide-eyed with wonder at the first bite. She remembered Lucas, the skeptical one, who couldn't hide his delight that day. She remembered the laughter of the class, echoing into the afternoon, and the sparkle in their eyes when they spoke about the dream they had all shared. Back then, Jayna hadn't realized it, but now she knew. It was that shared belief and spreading joy that had been the real miracle all along. A gentle breeze stirred. The leaves quivered, and one fell onto her shoulder, as if answering her. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." Jayna no longer wished to hold on to what had passed. She accepted the silence of the garden as a way for it to continue living. In another form. The sky turned bronze. The light tilted and poured over her hair, making it shimmer. From afar, her mother called out, "Jayna, dinner's ready." "Yes, Mom," she answered, her voice small but clear. She stood up, brushed off her hands, then turned back for one last look at the garden. The wind still blew, the leaves still swayed, and somewhere in that gentle rustling, she thought she heard a faint whisper, not from the wind, but from the dream berries themselves. "We've done our part." Jayna smiled and walked toward the house, but as she reached the doorway, she paused. Turning back, she looked at the garden once more. The sunset streamed through the fence, casting woven streaks of light across the soil like strands of memory still breathing. Softly, as if speaking to someone unseen, she said, "Thank you for coming, even if only once." Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." And Jayna knew this garden and its miracle were born of that instinct, a sacred play of the soul, where love and faith were allowed to live in their purest form. At dinner, her mother served her a bowl of warm soup. Steam rose, carrying the mild fragrance of celery and carrots. Her father asked, "How's the garden today, sweetheart?" "Still green," she smiled, "but no more fruit." He looked at her, eyes gentle. "Are you sad?" Jayna shook her head. "No, Dad. I think happiness isn't about keeping a miracle, but about watching others be happy because of it." Her mother rested a hand on her shoulder, smiling, her eyes filled with quiet pride. Carl Jung once said, "The soul becomes whole only through relationships." And perhaps that was what Jayna had learned. That true happiness doesn't lie in one's own magic, but in the bonds of hearts that dream together. After dinner, Jayna stepped out onto the balcony. Twilight had fallen. The crescent moon hung low across the sky like a faint smile. The wind carried the scent of earth and grass, of old dreams not yet gone. She leaned against the railing, gazing at the garden resting in the darkness, where only a few fireflies flickered. She knew that even without the dream berries, the garden was still alive. Somewhere beneath the soil, tiny seeds might still be waiting, patient for another season to bloom. She whispered, "Sleep well, my garden," then turned and closed the door. That night, sleep came gently. No vivid dreams of galaxies, no glowing fruits, no celestial dances. Just a simple dream of walking down a leaf-covered path, trees on both sides, and people at the end of it, smiling as they waited. In the dream, Jayna realized what she had found. Magic wasn't in the fruit, it was in the heart. Because as Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And perhaps that night, in her quiet garden of the soul, Jayna truly awoke, in the tender dream of a heart that had learned how to share. Part 18. Night descended like a velvet shawl draping over the small room. Outside the window, the moon floated quietly, pale gold, like a wisp of memory softly falling upon the garden. Jayna sat at the edge of her bed, her tiny hands still warm with the scent of earth, her eyes gazing into the darkness beyond. The garden lay still, the only sound a whisper of leaves brushing against one another. Since the night the last of the dream berries had vanished, Jayna had looked toward that spot before bed every evening, not out of longing, but because within her still glimmered a small light, as though a part of that magic still lingered inside her, not yet gone. Tonight, the moon was brighter than usual. It streamed through the curtain, spilling across the blanket in a silvery ribbon like a river of light. Jayna bowed her head slightly, sensing something calling to her. Gentle, silent, but strong. She washed her face. The cool water brushed against her skin, awakening her fully. In the mirror, her small face reflected between two sources of light, the moon and the bedside lamp. There was something strange about her eyes, the clarity of a child's, yet the depth of a small universe. Carl Jung once said, "The dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul." Jayna had never read that line, but some part of her seemed to understand. Tonight, she would open that door again. She climbed into bed, pulled the blanket up to her shoulders, exhaled softly, and let her eyes close. "Tonight," she whispered, "I will plant the seed in my own dream." And so, in the tender glow of her bedside light, the little girl began a journey of the mind. Jayna found herself standing in the middle of a vast meadow. The night sky stretched endlessly above her, glowing with thousands of stars. The ground beneath her feet was soft and warm like wool, and the air carried the scent of fresh grass. Everything was still, yet pulsed with rhythm, like the heartbeat of a great living world breathing with her. She looked around. There were no fences, no walls, only infinite space where the wind carried the hum of the cosmos. In her hand lay a small seed, glowing faintly like a breath of light. She knelt down, dug a tiny hole in the earth, and gently placed the seed inside. As she covered it with soil, warmth spread through her palms, as though the earth itself was smiling. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." And Jayna understood. This seed could only grow if it was planted with acceptance and love, not with the desire to possess or prove. She stood, brushed the dirt from her dress, and looked up at the sky. From the clouds, raindrops began to fall. But they weren't cold or wet. They sparkled like tiny crystals, glowing softly as they touched the ground and melted into the place where the seed lay buried. A faint light rose from the soil. Slowly, a young tree emerged, its trunk transparent like glass, its leaves thin as moonlight. When the wind passed through, the tree rang with a soft chime, a sound so pure it made Jayna's heart tremble. From its branches grew not fruit, but small orbs of light, each one like a tiny dream, breathing, waiting to be shared. Jayna realized these were the dreams she had once sent out, to her friends, her parents, and even to strangers. She smiled. The tree didn't belong to her alone. It belonged to everyone who still believed in goodness. Carl Jung once said, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." And Jayna knew then. Dreams, too, were a form of creation. They unfolded in silence, deep within the soul, where reason could never reach. She sat down, leaning against the luminous tree. The ground beneath her back was soft as her mother's breath. The wind that passed carried laughter, songs, and a kind of joy that seemed to come from the stars themselves. Jayna gazed at the glowing orbs. One drifted free, hovering before her, then fell gently into her hands. A small sphere of light, round as a drop of dew. Jayna blew softly. The light floated away, rising into the sky until it disappeared among the stars. Perhaps it would find a child afraid to sleep alone. Perhaps it would find an adult who had forgotten how to dream. Or perhaps it would land in the heart of someone who had just lost faith. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And in that moment, Jayna felt she was becoming exactly who she was meant to be, a sower of dreams. She stood and looked at the tree one last time. It chimed once more, like a farewell, then slowly dissolved into the light of dawn. Jayna opened her eyes. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtain, painting golden streaks across the blanket. Everything was still. The small desk, the sketchbook, the empty basket on the shelf. Yet inside her, something had changed. She sat up and placed a hand over her heart. It was still beating, slow and steady, but each beat carried the warmth of something newly planted. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." But that night, Jayna had done both. She had dreamed and awakened within her own dream. Outside, the garden remained green. The old vine trembled gently in the breeze, as if it too had been awakened. And Jayna smiled, knowing that no matter how many seasons passed, the magic would return, as long as there was someone in this world brave enough to plant a dream with a loving heart. Part 19. In the long night, Jayna dreamed again. This time, the dream didn't arrive through a call or fragmented images. It opened softly like a familiar door leading to a boundless land she had never stepped into, yet somehow had always belonged to. She stood in the middle of a vast field where waves of wind brushed past her, gentle and warm. Beneath her bare feet, the soil was soft and cool, damp, as if freshly kissed by the first rain of spring. What was once her small backyard garden had now expanded into a boundless farm, stretching all the way to where the sky met the earth. Above her, the sky was deep blue, sunless, yet glowing with the very breath of life. Everything was still, except for the subtle hum of the earth, a slow, steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of the world itself. Jayna looked down, her feet sinking slightly into the fine soil. She could feel each grain, each invisible current of life pulsing through her skin. The scent of the earth, rich, damp, and utterly real, filled the air, blending with the fragrance of young grass and wind. In that moment, she understood. The earth, too, was a living being, breathing, listening, and capable of love. She began to walk, her small footprints forming round imprints in the ground, like unfinished lines in an ancient diary. In her hands was a small cloth pouch filled with dark red tomato seeds, tiny as drops of blood, glowing faintly as if lit from within. Jayna knelt down, dug a shallow hole, and placed each seed carefully inside. No one had taught her. No voice guided her. Only a quiet instinct urging her. So. And so she did. She bent, stood, bent again. The earth embraced each seed like a mother cradling her child. The wind whispered encouragement, and with every seed sown, Jayna's heart grew calmer, beating in harmony with the rhythm of the soil. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Jayna did not understand philosophy, yet at that moment, she was living what Jung meant. Every motion, the way her hands touched the earth, the way her breath joined the wind, was an honest play of the soul, where creation was no longer an act, but a merging with life itself. She did not know how long she had been sowing. Time seemed to melt away. The entire field became a vast mirror reflecting light, and Jayna, small, her clothes stained with soil, appeared as part of that living painting. Then a strong gust of wind swept across. She lifted her head. The sky widened even more, and from the ground where she had sown, tiny sprouts began to rise. So fast she could watch them grow. Leaves unfurled, trembling in the wind, as light flooded everything. The whole space resonated with music, a wordless melody rising from the earth itself, a song only the heart could hear. Jayna smiled. She opened her arms and spun among the growing rows. That feeling, her feet touching the soil, her hair dancing in the wind, her hands catching light, revealed a truth. Every time we touch life, life also touches us. Carl Jung once wrote, Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. In this dream, Jayna was no longer separate from nature, from the soil, from the world. She was not an observer, nor a controller. She was part of the flow. She sat down, running her fingers over the now green earth. Every seed, every blade of grass had its own soul. She felt her heart become as light as the breeze, that rare feeling that comes only when one realizes how small, yet how infinite, a human can be. In that moment, time stopped. The whole world fell silent. Only Jayna's breath and the earth's breath remained, blending as one. A gentle rain began to fall, not cold, just tender. The droplets sparkled as they landed on her shoulders, her hair, and the new leaves. When one drop touched her hand, it shone, a tiny crystal holding the whole sky. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." And in that dream, Jayna saw more clearly than ever before. Every miracle begins with kindness, not with glowing fruits or magical vines, but with the simple act of kneeling down to plant a seed. An act so small yet born of the deepest faith in life itself. She stood, held out her hand, and looked at the traces of soil still clinging to her skin. She didn't want to wipe them away. They were proof she had touched truth, the warm truth of creation, not through magic, but through love. The sky above blazed with light. The tomato plants bloomed, glowing red, like thousands of hearts beating to the same rhythm. Jayna smiled. She realized then, this dream was not a place to escape, but a place to learn how to live. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." But that night, amid the vast field of her soul, Jayna both dreamed and awakened. For sometimes, to truly awaken, one must dare to plant a dream deep within the soil of one's own heart. She bent down, took a handful of earth, and pressed it to her chest. And in the final breath of the dream, Jayna heard the soil whisper, "Thank you, seed bearer of light." Part 20. In the dream, Jayna stood in the middle of her farm, but it was no longer the quiet patch of earth it once was. Everything was moving, breathing, resonating. The air was thick with the heartbeat of life. The ground beneath her trembled softly, as though waiting for a signal to awaken completely. Jayna raised her hand, a small, instinctive gesture, light as the wind. But from deep within, the earth came a sound, low, deep, and warm. Then, as if answering her, the ground began to pulse. Tiny sprouts burst forth, reaching skyward like ribbons of green silk. Each tender shoot unfurled, leaves spread wide, branches arched upward, weaving into a forest. Jayna stepped back, eyes wide with wonder, her face glowing in the soft light of a dreamlike dawn. Above her, the entire sky shimmered in lush shades of green, intertwined with blossoms opening in midair. The wind moved through the leaves, producing a sound like the strings of a harp. It wasn't merely a sight. It was music, born of earth and sky. She laughed aloud and waved her hand again. The wind began to dance, and as if the dream itself wished to play along, something stirred in the small kitchen at the far edge of the farm. The door opened. Every utensil began to rise from the table. The copper pot spun in circles, the pan flipped in the air, and a wooden spoon tapped a rhythm against the counter like a drumbeat. The flame beneath the stove came alive, not hot, but radiant with a gentle, golden light. Then came the scent, the smell of freshly baked bread, warm milk, a hint of cinnamon and honey. No one was cooking, no one was directing. Yet everything moved in harmony, as though the kitchen itself was sharing in the joy of the dream. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." And indeed, no intellect was at work here, only a heart playing joyfully with the world. Jayna spun in circles, her dress twirling in the wind, joining the rhythm of pans, leaves, and soil. Everything around her seemed to dance, a waltz of life itself. She looked around. On the table, flowers began to bloom. Their petals trembled, releasing tiny sounds. Not words, but songs made of fragrance. It was a soft, ethereal symphony, too beautiful to describe. Jayna stood still, spellbound. She could feel that everything around her had a soul. The small porcelain cup quivering, as if eager to join the song, the chair swaying slightly to the rhythm. Even the curl of smoke from the stove spiraling into the shape of a heart before fading away. Carl Jung once wrote, "The soul becomes whole only through relationships." And in that dream, Jayna deeply understood that relationships didn't mean only with people, but with everything that lives around us. When we love the world, it sings with us. She placed her hand on the wooden wall. It was warm, alive. She felt as though she was touching the very heart of the house. Then, to her wonder, a small light began to glow from her palm, tracing its way across the wall, spreading to the window, and out into the garden, until it merged with the song of the earth. The kitchen now looked like a small theater, the sounds of nature and home intertwined. The clinking of spoons, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind through the window, and the laughter of an 8-year-old girl, clear and bright as water in a deep well. Carl Jung once wrote, "Without playing with fantasy, no creative work has ever yet come to birth." And Jayna understood this in her own way, that imagination is not an escape from the world. It is the light that helps us see it. She walked to the center of the kitchen, raised her arms and closed her eyes. The space fell silent, as if waiting for her command. Then she whispered, her voice soft as a breeze, "Sing." The earth trembled lightly. The flowers quivered. The flame on the stove leapt higher like a musical note. And then, the whole world began to sing. There were no words, no fixed melody, only the sound of life itself. That song carried the sweetness of happiness and the scent of memory. It seemed to tell her, every act of labor is music when it is done with love. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." And Jayna understood, if we can receive life as a song, with all its hardship, fatigue, and joy, then everything can become miraculous. She opened her eyes. Above the garden, small orbs of light drifted through the air, reflecting the moon. She smiled, feeling her heart beating in harmony with the earth. Then she said softly, "I understand now. The earth doesn't just give us fruit, it teaches us to sing." The song faded. The flame on the stove grew small again. The pots and pans settled back into place. The house grew quiet, filled only with the scent of warm bread and damp soil lingering in the air. Jayna stood there for a long time. She knew the dream would fade, as all dreams do. But what it left behind, the living music of the world now singing within her, would never disappear. Because from this night on, Jayna understood something both simple and profound. When we love the world will always sing back to us. Part 21. That night, it felt as though the sky had descended into the garden. Jayna stood beneath the galaxy's soft shimmer, her hair tousled by the wind, her bare feet still warm with the scent of the afternoon rain. The air was so still she could hear her own heartbeat, slow, steady, pulsing in rhythm with the breath of the universe. Above her, the stars shone brightly, not distant as they usually were, but so close she could almost reach out and touch them. They quivered like immense droplets of water, suspended in the heavens, their lights slipping through one another, spilling across her hair, her shoulders, and the damp earth of the garden. Jayna looked up, and in her small brown eyes, the entire sky was reflected, luminous, pure, and infinite. She raised her hand, and miraculously, a star truly fell. It landed in her palm, light as a petal, warm as a breath. Jayna smiled and plucked another, then another, until both hands were full of light. Each star was like a pearl, glowing with a gentle brilliance that didn't burn but softened everything it touched. She began hanging them around the garden. Each time she tied one to a branch, the light spread outward, reflecting through the dewdrops so that even the grass seemed to glow, tender and alive like paper lanterns. Before long, the little garden had transformed into a miniature cosmos, where earth, leaves, and light conversed in a silent language of their own. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." But tonight, Jayna was neither merely dreaming nor awake. She looked outward to gather the stars, and inward to discover her own light. From the scattered rays of fallen light, a path slowly appeared. It led to a wide clearing at the heart of the garden, where the mist drifted lazily and the earth gleamed like glass. There, a long table materialized. No hands had built it. It seemed the wind itself had stitched the clouds into a tablecloth, while the roots of trees had bent gracefully into chairs. On the table lay plates made of moonlight, crystal goblets filled with dew, and silver utensils so thin they seemed forged from fallen stars. And then, as if a melody had begun to hum softly in the air, the feast appeared. The scent of apple pie, warm, honeyed milk, and glowing berries that looked as though they had been plucked straight from a dream drifted through the night. The fragrance filled the garden, the sweetness of peace, of memory, of home. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Perhaps this dream was the most beautiful game the soul had ever invented. No orders, no plans, only spontaneous harmony, as if the universe itself were being guided by the small hands of a child who knew how to love. Jayna walked around the table, her fingers brushing the oak surface. Each step changed the light slightly. The stars reflected upon her cheeks, her neck, making her skin shimmer like pearls. It was as if the whole world had been wrapped into that single, luminous, unspoiled moment. Then she stopped, gazing at the long table and its empty chairs. She knew they weren't truly empty. In her mind's eye, she saw her father sitting at the head of the table, raising his glass with a gentle smile. Her mother slicing the pie and placing a piece on her plate. And her friends, those who had once shared her dream berries, laughing, chattering, their faces radiant as starlight. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." And in this dream, Jayna could feel that transformation. Because every soul that touches our lives leaves behind a fragment of their light within us. She smiled. It wasn't the fleeting smile of happiness, but one of serenity. The smile of someone who understands that all beauty is born from sharing. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And beneath the shimmering starlight, Jayna had become just that, the little dream sower, the one who turned magic into a feast, who transformed solitude into light. She sat down at the table, resting her chin on her hands, gazing at the glowing sky above. A soft wind drifted through, making the stars she had hung sway gently, their light cascading across the table like a stream of silver. In that instant, the entire garden became a quiet festival of the soul. No applause, no music, only the pure harmony between a human being and the world. Jayna reached up, plucked the brightest star, and dropped it into the crystal goblet before her. The light dissolved, scattering into thousands of tiny sparks that floated upward and gathered into a soft halo. A crown of light hovering above her head. She closed her eyes. In that breath, there was no longer a little girl or a dream, only perfect unity between light and shadow, reality and imagination, the human heart and the universe itself. The dream dissolved slowly, like milk swirling into a cup of tea. But what remained wasn't the image, it was the feeling, a deep, tender stillness, as though the light itself continued to sing inside her chest. And that night, when Jayna looked up at the sky once more, the universe seemed to smile back at the little girl who had turned the stars into a celebration of gratitude. Part 20. The night wind drifted softly through the glowing leaves. The light of the stars that Jayna had gathered from the sky now hung all over the garden, along the branches, by the old wooden fence, and down the little path that led to the house. Each one shimmered like a living breath, radiating not a blinding glow, but a warmth so gentle and calm it felt alive. Jayna stood in the center of the garden, her white dress rippling in the breeze, her small hand reaching out to touch the nearest star. It trembled, releasing a delicate sound, half laughter of the earth, half sigh of the night. Everything was still, peaceful, and beautiful beyond the reach of words. Then the wooden gate at the end of the garden creaked open. Her parents stepped in and froze. They had seen this garden thousands of times before. The little vegetable patch, the corner of dirt where Jayna played, the flower pot her mother had painted herself. But now, everything was different. The same patch of soil had become a breathing universe, where light and earth had fused into one. Her mother covered her mouth, eyes glistening. "Jayna, what have you done?" The girl smiled, the galaxy's glow reflected in her brown eyes. "I just planted what I believed in, Mama, and the earth helped me make it real." Her father came closer, placing his rough, calloused hand on her shoulder. Something stirred deep inside him. Pride, humility, and a quiet sense of standing before something sacred. He didn't understand it with his mind, but he knew. This light was pure, honest, and utterly alive. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And that night, as they stood in their daughter's garden, both parents realized they were dreaming, yet also awakening. Awakening within the simple faith of their little girl. Moments later, the gate opened again, and laughter came spilling in. Jayna's friends, the same children who had once shared her dream berries, rushed into the glowing yard. They stopped dead in their tracks, mouths open in awe. "Jayna, how did you do this?" One of them stammered. Jayna laughed. "I just dreamed," she said softly. "But this time, I dreamed with my eyes open." The children burst into laughter, and their giggles rippled through the garden like seeds of light taking root. They ran around the table, brushing the stars so that the light swayed like waves on water. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt the same truth. The garden was alive. "Come here," Jayna called, her voice clear and warm. "Now close your eyes." The children obeyed. Her parents did too. "Now imagine the most beautiful thing you've ever known," she whispered. "It could be a smile, a hug, or just a tiny flower. Hold it close inside you, and believe that it was never lost." Silence. Only the whisper of the wind, soft as breath. Then, slowly, everyone began to feel their bodies grow lighter. They were no longer standing there, they were floating. The ground blurred beneath them. The light around them grew brighter. They were flying, truly flying. Not because of magic, but because of belief. Jayna opened her eyes first. The sight before her made her heart tighten with a deep, tender joy. Her parents and her friends, all drifting gently in midair, spinning amid streams of light. No one was afraid, no one surprised. They simply smiled, serene and pure, as if the whole world had become lighter. Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists, what you accept transforms." And perhaps tonight, they weren't flying because of Jayna's miracle, but because they had learned to accept, to embrace their softness, their uncertainty, and the wonder that logic could never explain. "Jayna," her father called down, voice trembling, "you've done it." The little girl shook her head gently, smiling. "No, Papa, I just remembered how to believe." The words rang through the air, light and clear as a silver bell, and in that instant the stars around the garden blazed brighter than ever, as though the heavens themselves bowed to this simple truth. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." That night, It wasn't only Jayna who transformed her world. The world itself transformed everyone who believed alongside her. Then the light softened. Everyone slowly descended, their feet touching the earth again. But when they opened their eyes, the light still shone within them, not from the stars, but from inside their hearts. They gathered around the table, smiling quietly. There were no words, for sometimes the most beautiful things don't need names. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that night, in the shimmering garden, each person became exactly that. The father, once again a man who could dream. The mother, a woman who had learned to believe. The children, souls learning how to fly. And Jayna, the little sower of light, the one who rekindled faith within them all. The night wind swept through once more. The stars hanging across the garden swayed gently, ringing softly like blessings. Everyone looked up, gazing silently at the sky. In that glow, each of them saw their own reflection. Brighter, calmer, as if they had just touched something eternal. Jayna whispered, her voice barely a breath. People don't need wings to fly, only a heart that still believes in the good. And that night, in the little girl's garden, the world learned how to fly again, not by magic, but by kindness. Part 23. The next morning, the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window, falling like fine threads across the blanket. A soft breeze lifted the curtain, carrying with it the scent of fresh grass and the sound of birds calling to one another outside. Jayna opened her eyes. In that fragile space between dream and waking, she could still hear the faint echoes of her father's laughter, the voices of her friends rejoicing among the stars, as if the night's adventure through the galaxy had not yet fully ended. She sat up, her soft, tangled hair falling over her shoulders, her eyes still glimmering with traces of the dream. In her chest, her heart beat slowly but joyfully, not the loud joy of excitement, but a quiet radiance that lingered through every breath. Something within her was still moving, like a hidden stream flowing beneath the earth, like a seed stirring deep below the soil, ready to awaken. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." But that morning, as Jayna awoke, she felt herself standing at the meeting point of both, awake, yet still dreaming. For the light outside no longer belonged to an ordinary day. It carried the warmth of something that had been born within her. She stepped out of bed, her bare feet touching the cool wooden floor. Every step was light, as if she did not wish to wake the world too soon. She opened the window. The entire garden before her was drenched in dew, glistening under the soft morning sun like it had been sprinkled with stardust. The scent of damp earth, leaves, and wind blended into a nameless symphony. Jayna bent down to slip on her sandals, then picked up the little watering can her mother had given her long ago. She stepped into the garden. Each step across the grass whispered softly, the voice of the soil telling its stories, the murmur of the seeds calling out to the one who had sown them. As the first stream of water poured out, the sun rose higher. Light pierced through the veil of water, scattering into tiny rainbows. Jayna smiled, a pure, peaceful smile, as though all the magic from last night had dissolved into the morning dew and was now shimmering in daylight. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." The little girl didn't try to recall the dream. She simply let it live through her gentle actions, watering, touching leaves, inhaling the scent of earth. In that silence, she realized miracles don't survive through memory, but through continuation. A small butterfly drifted in and landed on her finger. Its wings, fragile as light, itself quivered for a moment before taking flight again, leaving behind a faint halo. Jayna watched it go, smiling softly. "Perhaps you're a piece of last night," she whispered. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, painting pale gold patches across her face. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth flow through her body. It felt as if the whole world was breathing with her. Rhythmic, slow, and serene. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And this morning, Jayna felt it more clearly than ever. She was becoming herself, not the dreamer who waited for miracles, but the one who knew how to nurture them in every living moment. She bent down, observing the rows of young plants sprouting from the soil that had once slept through the long winter. The tender green shoots glistened like the eyes of life itself. She whispered, "Thank you, my friends, for not falling asleep, even through such a long night." Carl Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." Jayna had neither resisted nor tried to hold on to the dream. She had simply welcomed it, as one welcomes the morning light, as one receives water on their hands. And so the dream transformed into this morning, this garden, this steady heartbeat within her chest. She thought of her parents, her friends. Did they dream with her? Did they remember the light, the song, the weightless flight among the stars? A calm understanding settled in her heart. Even if they forgot, the dream still lived within them, only changing its shape and its name. A drop of water fell from a leaf, breaking into 100 smaller drops before sinking into the soil. She looked up, watching the sunlight filtering slowly through the branches. Soft, golden, alive. Inside her grew a gratitude too deep for words. Jayna understood. The dream hadn't ended. It was simply continuing, in the form of daylight. Last night she had taught others how to fly. This morning, the sunlight was teaching her how to stand still, firmly, gratefully, to feel the heartbeat of a world blossoming around her. Carl Jung once wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Jayna smiled. Last night she had met her own soul, and this morning both, the girl and the soul, had transformed into something new, lighter, thankful, radiant. She watered the last plant, then set the can down. A gentle breeze passed through, making the leaves tremble, the light dance upon her shoulders. Everything seemed so alive that Jayna could almost feel the garden smiling back at her. She whispered softly, as if sending her words into the air. "If night is the dream of the earth, then morning is the dream of the sun. And I am only the lucky one who gets to live in both." The wind answered her with a tender rustle. Sunlight fell across her face, and in that moment, Jayna knew for certain, dreams never truly end. They simply change places, from the sky above to the light within the heart. Part 24. That morning, the sun rose slowly, as if it too wanted to linger within the scent of dew still resting on the leaves. Jayna's garden was wrapped in a gentle stillness, not the stillness of sleep, but the kind that breathes quietly, alive and growing in silence. She stepped outside, carrying the silver watering can her father had once polished. Every step upon the damp grass cooled her feet. The early breeze swirled around her, carrying the fragrance of rain-soaked soil and the faint sweetness of newly opened daisies. She took a deep breath, letting the moist air fill her lungs, and in that moment, she felt as though she were inhaling the whole world itself, fresh, pure, and beginning anew. When she bent down to check the row of tomato plants, light filtered through the canopy above, painting her shoulders with golden streaks. And there, between sunlight and the scent of earth, something shimmered. Jayna froze. Beneath the lush green leaves, a strange silver light reflected softly. She knelt down and brushed the leaves aside. Her heart began to beat faster, as if she were about to uncover an old secret the world had hidden from her. And then she saw it. A black and silver melon, resting quietly among the tender blades of grass. Under the morning sun, it glowed faintly, like a drop of moonlight left behind after a long night. Jayna gently lifted it in her hands. Its surface was smooth as silk, and a coolness spread from it into her fingertips. She didn't need anyone to tell her. She knew. The magic had returned, not with a shout, not with a flash, but softly, like the earth whispering an answer to a faithful heart. Carl Jung once wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Jayna hadn't tried to recreate the miracle. She simply kept watering her plants, humming softly each morning, and smiling at the sky. And perhaps it was through that innocent joy that the magic found its way back. She sat still for a long time, gazing at the melon in her hands. The image felt like a waking dream, where the line between reality and imagination dissolved. In the light, its silver skin reflected her face, bright eyes, a forehead beaded with dew, and a small smile, delicate as sunlight. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." And Jayna realized, perhaps this was the gift of acceptance. When the old miracle disappeared, she did not grieve or resist. She simply felt gratitude and continued tending her garden. Somehow that gratitude had turned into new life, into the luminous fruit now resting gently in her palms. She placed the melon down and softly brushed the soil around it. She didn't wish to pick it, nor to open it, for she knew a miracle doesn't need to be displayed to exist. It only needs to live, to breathe, and to be believed in. Carl Jung once wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." The girl closed her eyes and placed her hand over her chest. Her heartbeat was steady, the same rhythm as the earth's. In her mind appeared the faces of her parents, her friends, and the laughter that had once echoed beneath the stars. Perhaps this seed hadn't only sprouted from the soil, but from those moments, from laughter, from gentle glances, from the faith of those who had dared to dream with her. A breeze passed through, the leaves rustled, and in the sunlight the melon gleamed even brighter, as if it were breathing. Jayna smiled softly, a smile of gratitude, light as the wind, steady as the light itself. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And Jayna understood. She was becoming herself, not the girl who searched for miracles, but the one who planted them with love. She lifted her gaze to the clear blue sky, flawless and still. Above her, the sunlight shimmered, as if responding to her silent blessing. Everything around seemed to whisper the same truth. Every seed of love carries within it a dream, and when that dream grows large enough, it no longer belongs to one. It belongs to all. Jayna bowed her head slightly and whispered to the melon, "Thank you for coming back. Thank you for teaching me that love, when sown with faith, will always find its way to bloom." Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Jayna understood now that the dream no longer lived in the night. It lived within her waking consciousness, in her actions, in her gaze, in the gentle breath she gave to everything around her. The wind stirred again, making the leaves tremble. Beams of sunlight slipped through the branches, covering her shoulders with a thin layer of silver glow. She stood up, her hands covered in earth, yet glistening under the light. Something filled her heart. Not a burst of excitement, but a deep peace, as if she had just touched one of the oldest truths in the world, that every form of life begins with a small seed and a heart that knows how to love. Jayna took a few steps back, looking at her garden, familiar yet new, as though a piece of her dream had turned to life. Beneath the green leaves, the silver melon lay quietly, glowing softly like a breathing lantern. She whispered, her voice like the wind speaking to the soil, "Grow well, little seed of humanity. Someday, when someone else finds you, tell them the story of the miracle born from faith." Then she turned away. On her shoulders, sunlight danced. Behind her, the garden remained still. Only the sound of wind and the scent of sunlight lingered. But within that silence, one could still feel something unseen. The dream continuing to breathe, slow, deep, and warm, like the heart of a child who still believes there's room for miracles in this world.